Good morning, everybody. How are you doing? My name is Nathan, and I am the Director of Human Resources for Elementary, and I will be co-facilitating today. This is Sheila, and she's going to introduce everybody, and then we'll get started.
Thank you, Nathan. Welcome, everybody. Happy Monday. We are glad that you're here. We are here today to be able to have one of our charter school applicants who is going through and following our board policy share a little bit more with our community about their charter school that they're looking to bring into the district boundary areas. As Nathan shared, my name is Sheila Burke, and I serve as the Chief Academic Officer. And we have some of our colleagues from Be the Change Charter School, so I'm going to let them introduce themselves with us, and then we'll walk through what to expect in today's session.
Good morning, everybody. I'm Amanda Gonzalez. I am one of the co-founders and the Director of Cultivation, which is our word for I'll be the school leader at Be the Change Community School.
And I'm Amanda Marquez, two Amandas, so we often just go by our last names. I go by Marquez. I'm one of the co-founders, and I'm the Director of Innovation, which is our word for Executive Director.
So we're very excited to have you both here, and thank you for the interest within our district and the students and families that we serve. So today we're going to have a presentation given by both Ms. Marquez and Ms. Gonzalez, and at the end of that we're going to open it up for any questions that our audience and guests may have. We do have some that have been pre-submitted within the questions, so we'll get through as many as we can today, and then any that we don't we'll carry over into the next forum, which will be on Wednesday. All right, so at this time, here's our agenda. We're going to start by our welcome. We're going to go into the presentation, followed by our Q&A, and then the closing. We do have another one on Wednesday, as I'd mentioned, and that one will be hosted in the evening. All right, so we're going to turn it over to Ms. Marquez and Ms. Gonzalez. Thank you.
Yeah, great. Good morning. Can I grab the clicker? Magic clicker. Thank you. Here we go. All right. So as Sheila mentioned, we're Be the Change Community School. I already kind of said I'm Amanda Gonzalez, co-founder, and will serve as our school leader. For the past 26 years, I've worked with young people in both the education and the community organizational field, including as a special education teacher at Adams City High School. I worked under Robert Frantum Allen when I was working on my special education administration license, and I'm proud to have provided a lot of trainings and a lot of oversight in the district for special education. I've been a high school principal and hold licensures in both my principal licensure and my special education director licenses. And I was just awarded the 2022 Educational Leader of the Year Award from the Colorado Association of Bilingual Educators. I am super excited to talk briefly with you about Be the Change Community School, but I'll let Marquez talk a little bit more about herself first.
Good morning, everyone. I'm really excited for the opportunity to be here with you all. I will have to say I'm a little bit nervous. I've been doing this for, I don't even remember, 20 years and talking in front of students, in front of adults, and it still makes me nervous. And I tell you this because one of our core values at Be the Change Community School is confidence. And I used to think confidence was the time when you're no longer afraid, you no longer get those butterflies. And through working with our school, what I've realized is that confidence is the belief in yourself and your ability. Yes, you still get the butterflies, you still have those feelings, but you do it anyway. And that's what we want for our kids. We want them to believe in themselves and know who they are. Another one of our core values is identity. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about my identity and who I am. I'm a proud bicultural Latina. I'm a first-generation college graduate, and I'm a Commerce City community member. I live right over by Monaco Elementary. I also identify as a learner, which is something that I didn't learn until I was an adult. I love to read, watch YouTube videos. I think I can do anything if I can watch it on YouTube. Listen to podcasts. I'm also a career educator. As you can see over here, I started off my career as a special education teacher. I was a high school math teacher. I've been a high school assistant principal, a middle school principal, and I have a principal licensure and a master's in educational leadership from Harvard. So this has been my passion for my whole career. I told you that I was a lifelong learner, but if you had asked my 17-year-old high school self if I would have been leading schools, working in schools, starting a school, I would never have believed you. because I was the kid who didn't like going to school. I was the kid who my mom had to pull the covers off of me every morning to get me up out of bed. I often would pretend I was sick so that I didn't have to go. School wasn't built for me. I didn't see myself in the curriculum. I didn't get to learn my history. I didn't know why I was learning what I was learning. And I didn't realize that I could create change and that I could figure out who I was. I didn't learn all of those things to an adult. And what we want for our kids is that we don't want them to have to wait till they're adults to know who they are, know their gifts and their talents and their strengths. We don't want our kids to have to wait until they're adults to realize that they can create change.
So our mission of Be the Change Community School is to cultivate shapers of change who lead towards justice. We really want to do this, and we want to support the transformation of our future through supporting our young people with building revolutionary confidence and then taking that and engaging within community right here in Commerce City. 6 of my 7 kids attended Adams 14 schools, and as a teacher, as just meeting their friends, just everything, I've noticed less and less, more and more I should say, that our young people aren't confident when they speak to adults. It's kind of this rare shining light when we find that, which is why it's so important for us to say, no, you have the power right now. You may be 15 years old, but you can create change right here in your community, whatever change that is that you want to see. And so that's really kind of our driving force at Be the Change. Back in 2018, we put out a call to young people and said, hey, who wants to dream with us with what could high school look like? And so these 5 teenagers answered the call. At the time, they were students at Adams City High School and at Kearney Middle School. And we went through a series of workshops with them and just said, if you could have what do you want in high school? What does this look like if there's no barriers? And we let them dream. And overall, what they told us was that they wanted a school where they were seen, where their teachers knew who they were. They wanted to learn about things that were important to them within their, whatever their realm of life was in that moment. And they wanted sunlight in their classroom. I fully expected them to come through and, we want flying cars and everything, but they didn't. They came in with some very basic things, and we were like, we can do this. So since then, Be the Change Community School, for, like I said, the past 4 years, we have continued to have pilots with young people, have continued to host our community academic design team meetings. We meet every other week, and we've continued to develop aspects of the school with community. We firmly believe that nothing should be created for us without us at the table, and that means our neighbors, that means the parents of the students who will be attending Be the Change, and of course the young people.
So one of the things when we were out talking with community, we are applying as a charter school with the district, and there was a lot of questions out there about what is a charter school, or I've heard this about charter schools. So we did want to take a minute to let you know that Be the Change is a tuition-free public school. It is just like a public school. It is open to all students. That's often a question we get of like, well, who can come to your school? Can all kids come to your school? Can you pick and choose who comes to your school? Our school is open to all students. There is a lottery process. That's a state law if it's needed and we're over-enrolled. But it is open to all students. A charter school is an option, and it provides different opportunities within the community that it serves, and that is what we hope to be. Because currently, right now, our students who want a different high school, maybe a different high school program for them, have to opt out of our district, and that can't be the choice. And we are held accountable. Charter schools and Be the Change Community School will be held accountable academically and financially. We are accountable to Adams 14, to the state, and to our own board.
So in Colorado, more students are enrolled in charter schools than any other district in the state. Be the Change Community School, we are not part of a large network of charter schools. We are an independent school, and it's really important for us that we continuously operate under the community school models, the tenets of community schools.
So now, a little bit about our school. You're like, great, all these things sound wonderful. What about your school? Tell us about it. So we designed our school with our community. And one of the first things that we heard from them was that they wanted to have a voice. And so whether we're, in 20 years when we're ready to retire and we are no longer at this school, there is community voice built into the fabric of our school. There are community design teams, there are collaborative councils, there's an accountable by literacy board that are all made up of community members, students, parents, teachers, so that as a community, we have a voice to shape our school. That was the number one thing. Another thing, we know that our kids come to us linguistically gifted. And so it was very important to families that they knew that their kids would leave and graduate with that seal of biliteracy. And so not only will they be bilingual, but they will be biliterate, and they can go off into the world with that gift cultivated. From young kids, we heard the number one word that they use to describe school is boring. And so we would love to make school not boring. And so we were like, but what does that mean for you? And what it means is that they wanted education to be real world. They wanted to know why they were learning what they were learning. They wanted to be able to solve problems that are really going on in the world. And so we have a project-based learning model within every classroom that they're in. They're solving the same problem. They're just looking at it from different content areas and different lenses. In addition, we prepare our kids for whether it's they want to go to college, start a business, go into trades. We make sure that we prepare them for what it is that they want to do in life. So we have career exploration, job shadowing, and then in 11th and 12th grade, our kids will participate in internships. We find that this is really important because what we don't want to have happen is our kids go on to post-secondary learning and realize they've spent all this money on something that they're not passionate about. So if they can figure that out in high school, what it is that they love to do, and then they can go on and thrive in that field in the future. And so again, I think that this goes back to us, like who do we serve? And we serve all students. One of the things about Be the Change Community School is we are a much smaller school. We're starting off with 100 ninth grade students. The plan is 100 ninth grade students next year. And we'll grow a grade every year for the next 4 years. At full build out in about 7 years, we will be as big as 520 students. And so we are a much smaller school. I think it's about like a quarter of Adams City High School. And what that allows us to do as we are building this school with just a few hundred kids at a time, is to deeply know our students and all staff, not just the teachers, but all staff deeply knowing the students. And that was something that parents really said when we talked to them is, I want people to know who my kid is. I want them to see what I see in them. And also, like we want to make sure that people know that we serve all types of students. So gifted and talented students, students with disabilities, students on 504s and IEPs, our linguistically gifted students, students with varied cultural practices. One of our other core values is community. And so we want to make sure that our school is a place where everybody feels a sense of belonging. And so yes, again, we serve all students and want to see all students thrive.
And so we'd love you to share your thoughts, to complete the Adams 14 community survey. You are also always welcome. Call us, text us. If you take a brochure here, our phone numbers are on the back, our emails are on the back. We are happy to answer any questions. We're available to you. We're also available on all the socials, y'all, and so you can give us a follow, check us out. Internet stalk us if you want. And but we'd love to open this up for questions, Nate.
So before we go to the questions that were posted online, if anyone has a question, the format we're going to use today is that you should have gotten a card, and you can write your question on the card. When you have a question that's ready to go on your card, Raise your hand. I will collect the card and read the question, and then you'll have an opportunity to respond. And then we have some online questions that we will be also posing to you. So Dr. Burke and I will be walking around collecting the cards and facilitating the questions. Do we have any questions from the audience that we can collect? Okay, so the first question that we have is, I'm really excited about this school. I have an 8th grader who I hope will be able to attend next year, but I live out of the district. Will my daughter be able to attend?
Absolutely, unequivocally, yes. It is our goal to bring students back to the district. Last school year, I believe that the number was 965, something about that, of 9th through 12th graders who live in the Adams 14 school district, but who go to out-of-district schools. We need to bring our kids home. I know as a parent, I appreciated that my kids could just walk to school, and that's really important for us. Not only to bring kids home, but to bring other kids outside of the district to Commerce City. We're rewriting this story, right? So let's rewrite this together.
Second question, what services will you provide for special needs students? It wasn't clear in the application. Are you purchasing from Adams 14, or will you be bringing these services from outside?
That's a great question. Sorry if that wasn't clear. So, I mean, as Marcus and I had said, that we are both former special education teachers. We are both special education leaders. It is really, really important to us that we're making sure that our students who have learning differences are served. And so this could look like a anywhere on the spectrum of services. We are hoping to look at the options available for purchase through Adams 14, but we recognize that if some of those options are not meeting the needs from, for a particular student that we have, then that is our role to make sure that we're providing that according to the IEP. And that goes not only for our students on an IEP, but also 504, our gifted students, our linguistically gifted students. I think even, in my experience, a lot of students that need extra support aren't on a formal plan. And so that's why we've built that into Be the Change Community School, to write plans and to create this individualized way of learning for all of our students.
Thank you. Will you have sports? If not, can my daughter still participate in sports in the neighborhood school?
You want to talk about that one?
Yes, we've actually met with district leadership to talk about that. We want our young people to be part of the Adams City sports program, and we've talked with the district about what that will look like. We've made sure that we'll arrange our schedules and make sure that we can provide what is needed for our kids to be part of the sports team. We know that sports develops lots of leadership skills, and so we definitely want our kids to be part of the teams.
Can I just say, too, that we recognize the pride that comes in being an Adams City Eagle. And so we want to be fully aware of making sure that our students, though they might not go to Adams City High School, they can still be Adams City Eagles, maybe like their grandparents were, will participate in the same sports.
Thank you. I received a postcard in the mail stating Be the Change will have a school in Adams 14 in the fall of 2023. Why would your organization send cards when you haven't yet been authorized by the district?
That's a fantastic question. That is our target opening goal. And so our goal is that in next month, in November, that we are authorized, that we can enter into contract negotiations, and it is our goal to open in August of 2023. And so Marcus and I are actually working full-time right now to plan everything out that is needed to have a successful launch in August.
Thank you. This question kind of goes with your last response. What will your programming look like with the current intent to enroll form from numbers being much lower than the projected grade level sizes?
Yeah, so we have a robust plan that we are working on right now for reaching out to community members and reaching out to parents and kids in our community to let them know about our school and make sure that they are aware and they have the opportunity so that when enrollment starts in what is it, January, February, once our contract is finalized, that they can start the enrollment process and be ready to go. And that will continue, that programming will continue throughout the summer into the fall of 2023 so that all families in Commerce City have that ability to know about our school as an option.
In your application, you mentioned the graduate aims are developed with the community. Can you talk about how and when you engaged the community and who composed the community?
Yeah, absolutely. So the graduate aims are tied directly to our core values. And so the core values of identity, confidence, community, and civic engagement were created from the multiple pilots, the multiple workshops that we had with young people, and we brought in parents, we brought in educators as well to say what is important in a school. From those core values is where the graduate aims came. And so the graduate aims are a list of skills that say, here's what every graduate of Be the Change Community School will possess. They are completely aligned. We have crosswalked them with the Colorado Essential Skills that say, hey, here's what successful graduates in the state of Colorado will possess. And so they've been constantly kind of refined with our community academic design team. And so currently on our design team, we have three teenagers, two of whom are former Adams City High School students. We have a college-aged person who works with young people. We have a couple of other college-age people who are Adams City High School graduates who advise us. We have an Adams 14 employee. We have a former Adams 14 teacher. And we're constantly working to say, hey, more parents, would you like to join? We're finding like capacity is always an issue. But that's where the graduate aims were decided on, were refined, and we're actually working right now on designing the rubrics, because our graduate aims, if you read in the application, those aims are built into grading in addition to our standards aligned content, because we want to make sure that we're not just one of the schools that's like, yeah, our students will possess the skills to do X, but we're not measuring that, right? We want to make sure that we're measuring that and that we are fully supporting each one of our graduates to get to that place. So to the question, it lives in the design of our community academic design teams.
Thank you. This next question really is 3 parts, so I'm going to go slow on it, okay? Where will the school be located? An address.
So I will say that we do not yet have a building until we have a contract. We need to have the contract so that we can sign the lease. We are working with different community organizations in the organization Radian to find that place. It will be in the core part of the city. We're looking at property on 80th. We're looking at property over in the South Platte Crossing building. And then there's one south on Oneida. I think it's like 51st in Oneida. I have to look at it. But so we are looking at different properties and different buildings. But until we have that signed contract with the district, we can't sign the lease for the properties.
Thank you. Is this school fully bilingual? And what language will you teach?
So we are a biliteracy program, not a bilingual program. And the difference being is that we have the core contents of English, science, social studies, and mathematics, and we have added a 5th, which is Spanish. And it's Spanish language arts for our students who come to us already speaking the language, and Spanish as a second language for students who come to us speaking, who maybe are English only. If students come to us with a different linguistic gift, let's say Russian, and so we can then use technology to ensure that they have access to the literacy courses within their mother tongue languages. And so our students can present their projects in either language that they choose. They can, yes, they do, like in our math, science, social studies, and English, it will be presented in English for the most part, but students can use their gifts of language in all of the classes that they work in.
And I'll just also add to that our students who are linguistically gifted will receive full English language development support, adding up to, what did we say, a minimum of 225 minutes a week in all of their classes, but also with specific ELD courses as well.
I have one more question from the audience, so if anybody has additional questions, now would be the time to raise your card so that we can make sure that you're included. After I'm done asking questions from the audience, Dr. Burke is going to read some questions posted online, and then we will go through the process for closing down the meeting and let you know when additional meetings and resources are available to you. What type of college counseling will you provide for students?
Yeah, I'll speak to this. Let me not spill my water first. So one of the unique models that we have at Be the Change is we're very rooted in identity. And so one of the pieces at the very beginning of the day, our students will come in and they will participate in what we're calling Kayi. Kayi means house in Nahuatl. And so it's similar to an advisory block, but that is where students will particularly come in. They will set goals for their day. They will look at their long-term goals and really look at even how are they collecting data toward these long-term goals and these short-term goals. They also will have, at the end of the day, they meet with their Kayi again. And really that's where their mentor comes in and can say, how did you meet your goal today, right? And it's just kind of learning that self-regulation skill. Every 8 weeks is our various learning units. In between those units are called intersessions. When intersession is happening, that's when mentors are also meeting with students one-on-one. They're looking at the college track, the business owner track, the trade track. What are students interested in? And it's more than just a conversation about, hey, what you want to do, right? It's how are we collecting the data? How are you meeting your graduate aims that will prepare you for your long-term goals? And also looking and shifting around. If classes need to shift during that time, then they will shift because we will identify whether students need interventions, whether they need accelerations. We will also employ a college counselor to make sure that they are that we are maintaining relationships with colleges, that our students are visiting colleges, because there's nothing like visiting a college. I can attest, my daughter who goes to CU Boulder visited CU Boulder in 5th grade and knew then that that's where she wanted to go. And she drove on that. And so firm believer in we need to make sure that our students are there, are experiencing that. And speaking to people, which they'll do in their internships, about other opportunities, right? Not just doctor, lawyer, soccer player. But how are we making sure that our students are getting access to learn about other opportunities, other jobs that are out there? Anything that I'm forgetting in terms of the college track? Also, our counselors will make sure that we're maintaining those relationships with schools, just like Adams City High School does, like the CSU Alliance program, right? We want to make sure that our kids that are planning on going to college, that we're supporting them with being able to pay for college.
So we did have 2 additional questions come in and a comment. I am not going to read the comment. This is for questions, but I'll provide you with that comment so that if you choose to respond, you may. Biliteracy programming implies that students can read and write proficiently in each language. Can you describe what biliteral program means to you and to the program?
Yeah, so I think that that's exactly what it is, that students are proficient in English and whatever, like their other language, and for us it will most likely be Spanish. And so our students, like I said, they will have their English in their core content classes, and they will have their Spanish literacy in their Spanish class. And then we use different assessments that are approved by districts and states in order to test their proficiency on that. For high school, often the PSAT is used. For Spanish, we can use the CLEP test, which is a college readiness equivalency for Spanish. You can use AP testing as well. There's a lot of different ways that proficiency in both languages can be assessed upon graduation. And so that, like, our programming helps our students who come to us linguistically gifted develop the literacy in Spanish and in English through the ELD classes that Gonzalez mentioned as well. So yes, that definition is very much our definition.
Final question from the audience. And if you have additional questions after Dr. Burke gets started with the online questions, please be sure and hand them to me, and I will collect them and make sure that they are answered. If not during the session today, they'll be provided to Be the Change to answer at a later time. Can you talk about your curriculum and how it will be vetted for viability and effectiveness?
Absolutely. We all know that ensuring that our students learn and ensuring that our students are mastering the standards is critical to successful school. And so we've spoken about how do we merge that within what our community is saying, is they just want to learn about what is important. So the process, in short, I'm going to try to be succinct about this, is our community academic design team comes together and says, what are some problems that we want to solve, right? I think anything within the community. It is actually our teachers and our leaders, our educators that will come together and say, this is a fantastic problem, but can it turn into a standards-based 8-week unit, right? From there, it's really deconstructing of our standards. It is ensuring that our educators are prepared to merge the problem to be solved into a problem-based, project-based learning unit. In math, for example, we will use the Open Up high school resources. That, I don't know, y'all, I can't figure out how to make algebra problem-based and project-based, but Open Up high school resources that is effective curriculum knows how to do it, so we're leveraging a curriculum there. Our teachers will also have access to curricular supports in English, science, and social studies. And so it's not like we're just making it up. We are building our foundation on research-based, evidence-based curriculum. Yeah.
So we have about 15 minutes left, and part of our board policy requires both our district accountability and our internal review committee to be able to go through any charter schools application. And as a result, each of our committees has formulated some questions that they have. And so as I read through those, that's part of what we're going to ask in here. There's a series of questions, so anything that we don't get to today will go into Wednesday and then Saturday's meetings as well. So the first question I have is, how are the graduate aims developed with the community? And you spoke a little bit to that earlier.
Do you want me to add more to?
If there's anything that you want to add to it.
I don't think that there's anything more. Is there anything more you want to add to it? Okay.
Okay. The second one is, in what ways are the Adams 14 target student populations represented in the aims?
In the graduate aims?
Yes.
We know that our student population is high numbers of BIPOC students, and we know that by the just the data showing the graduation levels of BIPOC students throughout our state, throughout our country, throughout our nation, the college graduation levels of Black, Indigenous students of color are very low. We want to make sure that we are changing that. As first-generation college students, as first-gen Latinas who have master's degrees, we recognize that we're, I think, part of the 12% of women in our nation, of Latina women who have master's degrees. We want to change that. And so part of where we've taken the Colorado Essential Skills that say successful graduates possess these particular skills, and where we've crosswalked them with our graduate aims is to ensure that our students are mastering those skills so that they will graduate high school being able to not just read, write, and be successful in college, but also if they want to be a black hat on a construction site, you want to be the general foreman, let's prepare you in high school for that. If you want to open a business, let us prepare you in high school for that. Like Mark has said, we don't want our graduates to have to wait until we're in our 30s, in our 40s anymore to feel like we've gained something in life. Let's do it right now when our kids are 15, 16, 17, 18 and prepare them on the track. And not just on the track just to leave Commerce City, but maybe to go to get any schooling and to come back and to continue to fortify our neighborhoods, to continue to fortify our community. That's where the graduate aims come from. That's the work that we did with community members to develop those particular aims and to make sure that they were in line with what the state essential skills say.
This next question is going to tie into that, and you touched upon this already, but how do you intend to move your graduate aims from poster to practice?
That's fantastic, yes. So as I just mentioned, that our community academic design team is currently working on the development of rubrics. How does one measure communication skills, right? And so really making sure that we're defining that, what that looks like in high school, how that can play out in throughout the day, right? I don't believe that learning only takes place in school. I think learning takes place on the practice field in Adams City, right? I believe that learning takes place at work. And how are we building just rubrics so that we can measure that? That is a very critical part to our grading system, which is mastery-based, standard-based grading systems. It all ties in. Not saying that if, maybe a student who is who's an introvert, who is shy, but is flourishing in math, right? It's not saying you have to come out and be a public speaker just to get an A in math. But we are looking at that. How are you meeting, say, communication skills as an example, what that means to you, right? And so we're working on that right now to define those rubrics.
Next question. Around what specific credentials, certifications will students leave with, and how will you track that on an annual or interim basis?
That's good. Definitely, obviously, high school diploma. We also are in the process, we're forming relationships with local colleges because we want to make sure that our students have access to take college courses in addition to the internships that are available in the 11th and 12th grade. At this point in time, with us being so small, so new, we don't have a longer trajectory just right now to say, like, will they graduate with an associate's degree? That would be ideal. If that is something that our community wants to push for, then let's design it. That's the beauty of having an autonomous model, is we want to be able to design that.
So the next question is going to be specific to your application, and it says for section 2.d.I, can you elaborate on this?
I don't know.
So hopefully, I think we either can answer that in the next session because I will need to read what that section is, or we can post it online, a written response to it.
Sounds good. Okay. How will you measure the progress of your PBL implementation?
So project-based learning, the model that we're using is by the Buck Institute. And the Buck Institute is a research-based organization that has fully developed and just kind of worked out what works well in project-based learning. And so they've identified 7 pillars that and have full ways to evaluate the progress of the programming. So every one of these pillars our teachers will be trained on, our teachers will be evaluated on if they're following the 7 pillars. And then also from an administrative level, we will also observe, it's observing within our coaching cycles, but making sure that just by following those 7 pillars, is that actually pouring into the data, right? Are our students showing growth on interim data measures? that's where we're held accountable, and we're holding ourselves accountable. As the leader of the #1 high school in DPS for a number of years, I was fortunate to learn very clear systems in data measurement and how to incorporate that into professional development, how to incorporate that into one-on-one teacher coaching. And so that's the same type of cycles that we're going to use at Be the Change Community School, because it's not enough for us to say we're doing cool things. We have to actually make sure that we're showing that we're doing those things.
Thank you. So how do the practices under equitable demonstrate equity practices?
Can you repeat that question?
Yes. So how do the practices under equitable demonstrate equity practices? And this is coming out of section 4 of your application under goals, objectives, and pupil evaluation.
I'm not sure about that question. I mean, I was
going to say, I wonder if it's one of those where we need to like read what exactly they're talking about so that we can share.
Yeah.
So I'll circle this one and table it for Wednesday.
Yeah,
The next one on there is, how can you assure our Adams 14 community you will be sustainable in it? And elaborate on 4B of your application.
Yeah, I think so. Section 4 is all about our own academic achievement, our own academic accountability. And that is the #1 goal for myself as school leader, is to ensure that we are walking the walk, that our students are growing, that our students are getting to proficiency. I think that this even speaks to the number of our community committees, as Mark has alluded to earlier, that we have built in accountability measures for myself as school leader, for Marquez as executive director, throughout not just our CSC, our community, why am I drawing a blank on CSC? Collaborative School Committee, thank you. But our biliteracy committees, making sure that our biliteracy program is held accountable not just to families, but also to, or not just by families, but by educational leaders who do the work for promoting biliteracy in school. Our community academic design teams, our board is holding us accountable. We have these accountability measures for long after we have retired. Yeah. Do you want to say?
Yeah, and I think I can speak to like sustainability. There's also financial sustainability that we are responsible for, and we work with partners. We work with Abstract Insights LLC, and they're a very reputable group who knows how to budget and do the accounting and finances to make sure that we are spending within our means and that we have long-term financial sustainability. If revenues change and things like that, they're working with us to make sure that we are also changing our budget and spending so that we can be financially viable long-term. Same thing with facilities. That is kind of part of the financial viability. And so we are working with Radian to help, again, make sure that we have a space that is within our budget that allows us to be financially viable, that we have a place and a home for our families to be.
Okay. All right. Will Be the Change Charter School consider other student aspects aside from just academics and behavior for their tiered academic system?
Absolutely. I do not believe in just solely saying only considering academics and behavior. I think that looking at children whole child is really important to us. And for us, it also extends not just from whole child in terms of who are you, what are your interests, what are your needs, but what are the family needs? How can we support holistically? Because we know that none of us as individuals are just us. We carry with us the beauty and the power of our ancestors, the strength of those that came before us, and that's something really important to us that we make sure that we are adding to and not subtracting within our student body.
Thank you. How will you work to attract 9th graders that are attending out of district?
So I think what we are working on right now is that campaign of awareness campaign and letting people know that we are here. I think that like I said earlier, students who if you don't choose Adams City High School as your high school, you have to choose out of district. And so what we are doing is we are spreading that awareness so that people now know that there is a choice here in Adams 14, because every family, every student has to find the right fit for them. And it could be that two kids in the same family have different needs. I think we've talked about that before. And so what we are looking for is to find the families and the students that our model fits for them. And like we've said, we know that a lot of students have left to choice into other models. And so our goal is to bring them back by letting them know that we are here, we are a choice, and we are right here in their community, in their neighborhood.
Thank you. What will your programming look like with the current intent to enroll forms being much lower than your projected grade level sizes?
So we answered that one.
What will the sample unit look like? The examples included scheduling with no content, and this is going to be more specific to the essential section of your application.
Let's table that one because I want to go back and make sure that I am aligning there.
Will this curriculum be vetted outside the district, or is it only your administration? Will it be reviewed for effectiveness once implemented? And I know you spoke a little bit about this earlier.
Yeah, and I think in terms of being vetted, it will be fully vetted. That's part of our community networks, our community works. Again, forming partnerships with, for example, the Colorado Association of Bilingual Educators, making sure that curriculum is being vetted by professionals, by experts in the areas, to make sure that it has to go beyond us. That's the point of a community school, is because we have to work as a community.
Thank you. How will students have equitable access to MTSS as well as ELD, special ed, and enriched activities with multiple needs?
Yeah, so that's built directly into our school day. And so our schedule for the school day, it kind of roughly looks like core content classes in the morning. We have a shared lunch across the all grade levels. And then right after lunch, we have built in class periods of intervention, acceleration. This is where special education direct services live. This is where ELD lives. This is where our gifted programming lives. Of course, they are all also integrated into core content areas. But this is where, if a student needs specific one-on-one supports, that's where that lives. And then all students move into electives. One of the things as a school leader that I really struggled with was that I often saw that our students who were in ELD classes had to miss an elective class to go into ELD. That injustice was just not okay, when especially the elective classes were the anchors to making school fun. And so we wanted to make sure that if any student needs interventions or accelerations, that all students actually have a time built into the day that will not affect their elective courses. So it's built directly into the day.
So we have about a minute left, and then we'll do one last question, then we'll turn it back over to you all for a closing. Will your teachers have planning time that is aligned and conducive to the integrated approach to building this curriculum?
Absolutely. Do you want to talk about that?
I was like, absolutely, because I think as educators we know, and as teachers we know that, like, in order to deliver excellent instruction, you need to have the time to plan for it. So we have planned for, I think it's 500 minutes a week of individual planning time and co-directed planning time on top of that. There's time every month that they have a day to work on curriculum and things like that, in addition to professional development. So we know that it takes time for educators to deliver this excellent instruction, and so we have made sure that, and we are working on other more creative ways, because within our industry that is happening right now. We are trying to make sure that there is even more time for teachers to be able to plan all of the things that they need to do to deliver excellent instruction, and so we're continuing to work on creative ways to even increase that further.
So I recognize some of our internal review and DAC members are here today. Any questions that we didn't get to will go into any future meetings that we have with Be the Change, whether that's this coming Wednesday or this coming Saturday. But at this time, we're going to turn it back over to all with any closing comments that you have for today's session.
Yeah, no, I really just appreciate these questions, especially the ones that challenge. Like, all we can do is continue to develop, continue to innovate. We have this perfect opportunity to change the way that we do school. Instead of doing school to kids and to families, we can do school with kids and with families. And so let's do this together and let's bring our kids home. Thank you for being here.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with, I think like the beautiful thing that we just love it about our community is it's a beautiful place where people can truly work together. The other thing is like we don't have a school that is already open or in practice or a way of being. Like we truly get to listen and design with. And so it was just beautiful hearing questions like Gonzalez said, that the ones that push us are like, ooh, we need to think deeper about that because there's no such thing as perfection and we know that and we just make each other better. And so thank you for this opportunity to get better today. Have a wonderful rest of your day.
We appreciate you guys joining us today and our audience members as well. Our next community forum will be this coming Wednesday at 6 o'clock. We will be here in our boardroom, and then after that we will also be meeting Saturday, October 22nd at 9 o'clock, again here in our boardroom. So if you have additional questions, please come. If there's other people you want to bring with you, feel free to do so. And then our guests will be around in case you have any additional questions for them.